Bad Bunny, Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, Bad Bunny, born in Puerto Rico. For those of you whose brains are shielded under a red hat, that's part of the United States, has been part of the United States for over 100 years. The people who are born in Puerto Rico are U.S. citizens. And so the man just made history Sunday night, taking home the Grammy for Album of the Year. Not Latin Grammy, not Grammy for Latin music, but the Album of the Year for the whole U.S., for his song, or for his album, Debí tirar más fotos. Debí tirar más fotos de cuando te tuve. Debí darte más besos y abrazos las veces que pude. Y ojalá que es mío y nunca se muden. Y si hoy me emborracho, pues que me ayuden. So that's the title song off of Debí tirar más fotos, DTMS. And so, very nostalgic song. There's a great music video out for it that you can look up just by typing in DTMF with Daddy Yankee. He is the first artist to win Album of the Year with an all-Spanish album. He's currently the most streamed human being on the planet. Naturally, the NFL wants that star power for the Super Bowl halftime show. A lot of people whose brains are shielded by red hats don't understand that the Super Bowl is a global event. It is a great ambassador for U.S. culture. American football is not as much of a global sport as, let's say, soccer. American football is like chess in that you can't, like, if you grow up with it like I did, it was kind of our religion as kids. I mean, we would play football in the street. When we were poor and we actually didn't have a real football, we would use a tennis ball. We would use a Frisbee. I remember once we were playing in the street and it was so cold that we were using a Frisbee and the Frisbee hit the frozen ground and shattered like glass. That's how cold it was. But I remember being in Monterrey, Mexico, in Nuevo León, in the Mexican state of Nuevo León, and being invited to playoff parties. Football is a big deal in places like Mexico. It's a big deal in Canada. In Canada, they tweak the rules a little bit, and the rules, I think you have 3 downs instead of 4 downs. There's some minor differences, but my friends in the old neighborhood, Chubb Moten and Darren Moten. Chubb is his nickname. His real name is John. He's out there. Today I saw him a couple years ago when I was back home. Glad to see he's doing well with his lovely wife. But they played, for example, in the Canadian Football League. But this idea that there are, I don't know, if you're a certain brand of American, success is a 4-letter word, especially when it's spoken in Spanish. And so there are people out there that seem to be very disturbed that Bad Bunny has been selected as this year's Super Bowl performer. And this uproar existed even before he deservedly won the Grammy for the best album. Bad Bunny is very talented. He's a young individual. I think he was born in 1994. Benito Antonio. He's been on, I think, Jimmy Fallon. He's been on all those different kind of shows. He's hosted Saturday Night Live. He's a bilingual guy. I have been a Bad Bunny fan, let me just admit, for over a decade. And I enjoy music, and actually in a lot of different languages. There's music out there, and I don't have any idea what they're saying, but I like it. I used to have a client from Laos, and they had a Thai restaurant this was back in Columbus. The Thai restaurant was Pickerington. I negotiated the real estate deal for them, and I got close enough to them. It was such an honor. They invited me to their kind of private parties. There's not a big Laotian community in Ohio like there might be probably out west and somewhere like California. But I love their music. I remember, and this was back 20 years ago, so it wasn't like all the songs today are MP3s. And they had these DVDs with their music, and they let me copy them because I had no idea what they were saying, but I just really had a good time just hanging out with them and enjoying their music, enjoying their culture. But when we think about something like reggaeton, or when we think about something like Puerto Rico, which is part of the United States, okay? But there are people, there's this MAGA crowd, this Turning Point USA or such that want to be exclusionary and want to redefine them as some noxious, evil, bad, foreign, outside thing. I remember one of Bad Bunny's first breakout songs, and he's been around for a long time. He's just now getting this kind of mainstream press popularity, but Chambea. And I love that song. So chamba is a Mexican slang word for work. Now, Bad Bunny is not Mexican. And if you think about the US and the UK, I hear stuff from England, and half the time I don't understand, especially if it's like slang or Cockney or whatever. I can't understand a word they're saying. Maybe the same thing with them for us. But so Bad Bunny makes this song called Chambea. And so chamba is work. And so Chambea is not really a real word in Spanish, but it would be slang as you're kind of telling somebody to work or to get to work. It would be a slang imperative tense. I imagine a English professor or a linguist or someone would say. And but it's just a typical rap song. If you listen to the lyrics, they're in Spanish, but it's kind of one of these, rap songs like I'm a badass and haha. It's not super violent or anything like that. Now, in the video, Ric Flair, Nature Boy, is actually in the video, and there's an interesting history about how they met and got in it. And so, Ric Flair is in this Bad Bunny video from back in the day. It's an old song now. It's about 10 years old. But I've seen videos out there like other pundits and YouTube know-it-alls, of course, present company not included, complaining, and then you see these people on Fox News or wherever and the attack clowns in the White House are acting like he's some kind of the funniest thing is they think he's some kind of LGBTQ activist, which couldn't be further from the truth. Bad Bunny's a typical barrio badass. He's like a bad guy, not a bad guy like a criminal or anything like that, but he's like a cool guy from the hood or from the barrio, from the neighborhood. And if you watch any of his videos, it's just hot babes in bikinis bouncing around, and it's like any kind of other typical hip hop or rap or whatever video. Now, let's talk about reggaeton, the music genre. And so what happened, it's interesting history. So back, my first time in Puerto Rico was back around 1996, I think. And so what's that, 30 years ago? I had gone with my brother and another friend at the time, and they were just, if you listen to the radio, you would just hear Spanish ballads, and you could hear salsa and maybe merengue, and you could hear, Ricky Martin wasn't a thing yet, but just that kind of Latin pop music. You could hear American music because, again, Puerto Rico's part of the United States. But out in the streets, people were selling cassettes out of their trunks, and there was this music. And if you went to the underground clubs, and at the time I was in my 20s, so that's exactly what we were looking for. I remember there was a club in San Juan called Club Egypt. And it was so cool. It was like you were inside of some kind of Egyptian. They had all the Egyptian motif and sphinxes and heads of Ramses and Nefertari and Nefertiti and all this kind of stuff like that. It was just for somebody kid in his 20s, it was really cool. It was mind blowing. And so there was this new music that was all underground. You had to buy it on a cassette or CD called Reggaeton. And what happened, a lot of people don't know this history. What happened was Shabba Ranks, who was the big reggae star. I've seen Shabba Ranks in concert. I still have a concert shirt. It's old. It's more than 30 years old, but I almost never wear it. So it's actually still in good condition. Of when Shabba Ranks came to Columbus, Ohio, and played at the Valley Dell, which used to be a dance, like a venue, like a event hall that was off of Sunbury Road on the shores of Alum Creek. But anyway, Shabba Ranks goes to Jamaica and he performs a concert and he sings his repertoire of songs. And one of his songs was Dembow, Dembow. So what that is saying in Jamaican patois is they bow. So the song is about how everybody bows to his mom because his mom is the mother of a king because he's the king and he's the baddest guy and what they call dancehall reggae. So you have traditional reggae, which is Peter Tosh and Bob Marley and roots reggae and all those guys from back in the 70s. And then dancehall reggae is like another style, which is kind of like the rap version of reggae. So if you think of what maybe rap became coming out of disco and R&B, dancehall artists are people you may know like Shaggy and Sean Paul and these people. Now, some reggae dancehall purists out there is gonna be like, no, they went commercial, dumbasses. But anyway, those are some examples. But so Shabba Ranks goes to Puerto Rico, another Caribbean island, because you got Jamaica, then you've got Cuba is kind of in the middle. So Jamaica sits off to the southwest of Cuba. And then you have the island Hispaniola, where you have Haiti on the Cuban side, or the side closest to Cuba, and then Dominican Republic. And then on the other side of Dominican Republic, you have Puerto Rico, the island. So these islands are called the Greater Antilles. Okay, and then you have the Lesser Antilles, which are over there where you find Grenada and Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados and Antigua and all these islands that come up. And this is all because of tectonic plates, and where you have the edge of those tectonic plates, you get either, you get subduction in some cases, or where they'll push the land up. So you have this whole archipelago of different islands. So anyway, Shabba Ranks flies over to Jamaica and gives a performance. Big hit. Everybody loves it. Nobody can understand. I mean, even if you speak English, unless you are Caribbean, you probably don't understand what Shabba Ranks is saying because it's in Jamaican patois. But anyway, big hit. And so what happens, and back then, I guess they still do it. So in Jamaica, what'll happen, and it's actually becoming common in American music and around the world, where you have a producer or somebody will make an instrumental version, and that will be a success in its own right. And then you have different people putting their vocal versions on it. So they take the instrumental track of Shabba's Dembow song, and then the Puerto Ricans start rapping to it. But they're just rapping because they couldn't understand him anyway. Even if they speak English, it's like he's talking in that patois. And so unless you are exposed to that, you're going to have no idea what my grandfather, who was from the Bahamas, I was a little kid, he'd talking half the time. I had no idea what he was saying because he kind of sounded like Shabba Ranks, okay, being a Caribbean immigrant to the United States. But so the Puerto Ricans start rapping to these tracks, these instrumental versions of Shabba Ranks, and they're saying whatever they want to say in Spanish. And so that music at the beginning was called Dembow music, Dembow. So they didn't really call it reggaeton yet. So it was Dembow music, and it was a very underground thing. The adults didn't pay attention to it. It wasn't on the radio. It wasn't the kind of thing. There was no Spotify. I don't think there wasn't even Napster yet. We didn't even have Napster yet, which was that music stealing platform. There was none of that stuff. MTV wasn't even playing Michael Jackson. Okay, David Bowie called out MTV for being bigoted, for refusing, for basically blackballing Michael Jackson music, until the public pressure got so much that they had to start playing music in genres other than rock and roll. But for those old timers, you'll remember the controversy, because MTV would not play. I'm not even like being an activist. They wouldn't play black music. They wouldn't play, certainly wouldn't play Latin music. They wouldn't play anything other than rock and roll, until people like David Bowie started putting the public pressure and the screws to them, until they finally broadened their genre. Then they eventually, as you all know, stopped playing music and have just gone to hell. Okay, what is it now? Like some kind of, is it still around? Or is it like a reality TV channel or anyway? So you had Dembow music, which is basically people rapping in Spanish over these instrumental dance hall reggae tracks. And eventually that grew and flourished and evolved into reggaeton. Reggae, which you know what reggae means. And in Spanish, you can put an O-N at the end of something, and it makes it like a big thing, right? So if you're a huevo, which means you're an egg, you can be a huevon, which means you're a big egg. Actually, it means something different. But anyway, you could take a word. It's funny because there's exceptions, because you can take a calle, which is a street, and then say callejon, which doesn't mean a big street. It means an alley. Well, I don't go ask. Go, I don't know. Go. I'm from Ohio. I don't know. I'm not an etymologist. But anyway, so dembow music evolves into reggaeton. Then you get artists out there like El General from Panama, Bico C from Puerto Rico. For those of you who are old enough to remember Harrison Ford, when he was in Clear and Present Danger, and he goes down to like get the drug bad guys. One of the songs you hear playing in that from 30 years ago again is Vico C, who was a big star for a while. So that's where reggaeton comes from, and you have this whole genre of people who end up becoming big superstars. Daddy Yankee, Tego Calderon. Back in the day, actually, back when I was in Puerto Rico, Don Chesina, who's he's like probably older than me. He's probably 60 years old now, but one of my favorites. And so you have this whole genre, Don Omar, that has come out of that. And so Bad Bunny is part of that. And he's like, I guess the latest. So Daddy Yankee retired recently a couple years ago, and then he became this born again Christian, and so every now and then he'll put out a song, but it's kind of like a gospel rap, I guess you could call it. So he's retired from his old mega stardom. Same thing with Don Omar, who fortunately survived a bout with cancer. So it's like all these guys are getting old. I suppose Tego Calderon has retired. But now Bad Bunny is the big deal, and there's a ton of others. I don't mean to slight anybody, but he has really crossed over into mainstream. I don't even know if mainstream is the right word, but into the mass culture, just the main flow of culture without having to be off into some kind of subgenre. We saw Shakira do this a long time ago. Shakira from Barranquilla, Colombia. Shakira's actually an Arab Colombian, was one of the first Latin stars to do this. Now, Shakira very quickly started putting out songs in English, which was commercially a very smart thing to do. And so she has a whole bilingual music catalog out there. But this music, to the credit of places like Puerto Rico, the Caribbean, I mean, Jamaica's a small island, and they have such a global culture where you have people in Japan trying to have reggae bands. Or I was in Uzbekistan, and they're playing. I'm at this event, and the DJ's playing Daddy Yankee songs, and then this guy who's like the Uzbek, he's a super mega star of opera and of traditional kind of singing. And he's like their Julio Iglesias or something. And he starts singing. What does he sing? Bésame, bésame mucho. And he starts singing these Spanish classics. And I'm sitting there in Central Asia thinking, wow, the world is really global. And the great thing about it, and that sounds kind of dumb, the world's global. Well, yeah, that's because it's a world and it's a globe. But you go to a place like a country that has been a traditional hub of the Silk Road, and they embrace this a global outlook. Then we come home and we have red hat jackasses who not only are they mad at Bad Bunny for not being one of them, and when I say one of them, if you notice, there's kind of like this ethnic box that you have to fit into, and if you don't, they have a problem with it. And for some reason, it is especially virulent towards Latinos, people of Latino ethnicity, even though, so the U.S. took Puerto Rico from Spain in the Spanish-American War. Same thing with Cuba, or Cuba for y'all people in Arkansas, or same thing, nothing against Arkansas, I'm sorry. Or on the Philippines. But what happened is the Philippines and Cuba wanted independence, so they eventually got independence. They're their own countries. Puerto Rico, you can argue wisely, there are some Puerto Rico independence activists who don't agree with this, but decided to kind of stay in this alliance with the U.S., which has been, I think, of mutual benefit, in my opinion. It's benefited Puerto Rico. It's benefited the U.S. That's a whole entirely different argument. But if you're Puerto Rican, you're a U.S. citizen, born and raised. Okay, so in Puerto Rico, if you go there, I mean, the language that people speak on the street is Spanish, but pretty much everybody educated knows English. If you go to college, they might give you a lecture in Spanish, but the textbooks are in English, and these types of things. And so now there is a small but extremely loud, tiny minority in the United States, a bunch of bigots who have created a fake issue with Bad Bunny. They're mad that he's going to perform at the Super Bowl, which is just jackassery. Now, let's talk about this. They're saying that Bad Bunny is super woke and that Bad Bunny is an this is the funny thing, that he's some kind of LGBTQ activist. And forgive me because I don't get all that stuff necessarily in order, whatever, but cancel me. But he's not. And I'm not saying that if he was, that's bad, but he's no more LGBTQ activist than Eminem, because he's pleasant to people and because he's not as bigoted as some of them are. So Eminem, what does he go and perform with Elton John or something like that? And Eminem is, I don't think anybody can legitimately doubt his macho manhood credentials. Same thing with Bad Bunny. Go watch one of his videos. Go watch Chambea, Chambea. Go watch the video, or go watch DTMF, Debía Tirar Más Fotos. And he's not like some kind of Claus Nomi or something like that. He's not Liberace. He's not Elton John. He's certainly not gay. He spoke on this. He likes women. He has spoken in, let's say, intelligent ways. He said something like, look, I like women. And I'm paraphrasing something I read somewhere where he said, maybe I woke up in 30 years from now and I wake up and I like men. which I don't know if that happens to people. You hear about these people who have families and then they left their family and they go in the second half of their life, they're gay, and they really were gay the whole time, but they didn't accept it. Or I'm sure that kind of stuff happens. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that kind of stuff, but I'm sure that there are in all of the around the broad spectrum of humanity, all kinds of different cases. But Bad Bunny is no more a gay lord, I guess meaning Lord of the Gays, than Eminem is. And if you are, fine, go be that. Go be like Klaus Nomi, who's that song is, who actually Rush Limbaugh made famous in the U.S. because you've got this super gay guy and he's going, "You don't know me. I like little," I don't know if he's not little. He didn't say little boys, but he said something like, "I like boys," or meaning, I think he meant men. I don't know. Go ask Rush Limbaugh. I've never played this song, but there's this guy that he was German and he made this song. And whenever Rush Limbaugh would talk about gay issues in the news, he would play this song by Klaus Nomi, which probably made Mr. Nomi a lot of money because by playing that on the radio, BMI or ASCAP or whoever the royalty, the publishing rights holders or rights administrators would pay. So the radio stations that played Rush Limbaugh would pay into BMI or ASCAP, or it gets complicated when you look at other ones, and they'd send these guys money. So, but anyway, there's this fake controversy or fake outrage about Bad Bunny, and I've analyzed it, and so this MAGA crowd is losing their minds over a performer that they claim they don't know, that they don't listen to because they wouldn't want to be caught listening to it. It's almost like back when it was like Two Live Crew versus Tipper Gore. Wasn't it Tipper Gore who was the senator's wife, and she came out against explicit lyrics and music. This was back in the late 80s, early 1990s, and she was this activist about filth and smut and pornography and music. But just like back then, and it's funny, stick around long enough and you're going to see history repeat itself. The funniest part is most of these people couldn't even name a single Bad Bunny song. Forget about pronouncing it properly. If their lives depended upon it, and they're out here protesting a career and a guy who really has never been controversial. You can go find people who are controversial. Tego Calderon is as I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember reading his past interviews back in the day, has been a Puerto Rican separatist, meaning that there has been a movement out there. It's a minority of Puerto Ricans. When they vote, it tends to be like 3 or 4% that want to separate Puerto Rico from the U.S. and make it an independent country. If you look at not just Bad Bunny, who just has been not controversial. You can like him, you can not like him. My wife doesn't like Bad Bunny. She's Latina. My wife's from Colombia, and she doesn't like Bad Bunny for no other reason than she just doesn't like that style of music. She's not a big reggaeton person. I love Bad Bunny. I'm not Latino, but I love Bad Bunny. I always have. Back when he was like a niche artist and wasn't really that famous yet, because I like that kind of stuff, okay? Not every single song he makes, but I like Bad Bunny and think he's talented, and I'm glad to see that he's doing well. But most of these MAGA Red Hat people couldn't name a single Bad Bunny song if their lives depended upon it. They're out here protesting a guy that is just rapping, and now he's being it turns out he's very talented. He's like a comedian. He can do these acting skits. He's on mainstream late night television in the U.S. And he is being born in Puerto Rico. He's an American citizen by birth. He's about as foreign as the Kentucky Derby or a Ford F-150. But facts are usually the first casualty in any kind of bigoted, racist temper tantrum. Now, I've seen that there are kind of two groups who are participating in this anti-Bad Bunny silliness. You have the true bigots who don't like him because he's Latino, who don't like him because he's Puerto Rican, who don't like him because he raps in Spanish. Just stupid. I remember when I was a kid back in the 70s, in the U.S., back then, you were supposed to be sophisticated if you could speak French. And you would go to these fake French restaurants, and if you could order in French, you were supposed to be so cool. And even if though you're in somewhere in the U.S., the waiters were supposed to speak French to you, and everybody was pretending like they were cool, and it was really silly. But that's how it was. And nobody was like, oh, speak English, damn French. That's kind of come about later. But the curious thing is how there's just this hatred towards Bad Bunny. They don't even know him. It's just a symbol. They'll just take anything that they don't like and throw it into this pot and say he stands for it. We don't like gay stuff, so Bad Bunny must stand for gay stuff. We don't like illegal immigrants. He's born a U.S. citizen. He has a blue passport. He is an American. But that shows you it's not really about illegal immigration. It's about bigotry. They don't like Latinos. That's what they really don't like. And they're playing this tired tune. They're such ignorant boobs. And then you have this other group, the ignorant, and they don't like Bad Bunny because they've been told not to. I saw this, I'm a college football fan, and there was this college football channel out there, and this guy, and he looked so stupid. Now they'll give interesting sports commentary sometimes, and that's nice. But they started talking about Bad Bunny, and it was clear they didn't even go and do any research. They didn't know anything. They were like, this is how it sounded. I'm not even mocking. It sounded so stupid. They're like, I heard he's going to make the Super Bowl into some kind of woke LBG2 festival, and he's going to wear a dress. Where the hell did you hear that? He's never said it. And if he did, he probably said it to just get you people riled up. But now maybe he comes out and surprises everybody and goes and does some something risque or avant-garde. I would doubt it because of the people who actually are his fans like him because he has the persona of this cool guy. Okay, I don't think he's going to go and do anything. It would be like LL Cool J coming out in a skirt. He's not going to do that. It doesn't seem to be him, but that's just not his brand that he's built up over the years. And so it wouldn't make any sense for somebody like Bad Bunny to do that. But these ignorant people, because the red hat dunces have told him, you're supposed to be against Bad Bunny, rather than going and seeing what he's done or what he believes or what he stands in, they just buy it in they've bought in like some kind of automatons or not AI bots, because AI is artificial intelligence. Let's call it artificial stupidity bots. So let's call it ass bots, okay? Because artificial stupidity is ass. So they bought into this like ass bots, okay? And they are against something because they've been told to be against it, but have no knowledge of the situation at all. So they're so scared of some reggaeton that these MAGA bigots at Turning Point USA are going to make a counter-programming halftime show with an all-American show featuring Kid Rock. So I don't know. Are they that insecure and threatened that if you don't like a music genre, you're going to protest? I remember when you first started getting like Michael Jackson performing at the Super Bowl, and then his sister, when her boob fell out of her shirt or something like that. And even back then, it wasn't really a big controversy, but they would bring in people like Madonna. And you have Madonna fans, and you have a lot of people who just legitimately, they don't like her music. They don't like her because she turned weird. Because Madonna, I remember when she had like the song Holiday, And that was when, oh, this is a nice song. And she wasn't weird, or maybe she was weird, but didn't really, the weirdness wasn't public yet. And I remember I was a teenager in Holiday. Okay, I remember we were like putting tinsel in the Christmas tree, and Holiday was playing Holiday, it would be so nice. And I was like, and I'm kind of a mainstream guy. Oh, that's a cool song. Then around the 90s, she came out with that whole, I don't remember the details, but she came out with all this weirdness. And she was like, I remember she had a Coke bottle or a bottle of some kind of pop and was doing something obscene with it. And she created all this controversy, which is what she wanted to do. And it sort of turned me off because I'm not into that kind of stuff, but a lot of people loved it. And she's this rebel, and I don't know, maybe she's a feminist and all these different things like that. And that's fine. You like it, you don't like it, that's okay. You don't have to go protest against it. That's just silly. It wasn't my taste, but good for her. If that's what she wants to do, if she's the one in control and is not being manipulated, go for it. Be weird. Now, I don't have anything against Kid Rock. I don't know much about him. I know he doesn't like Bud Light. What did he shoot up a bunch of Bud Light beer cases, which is a waste of beer? I think he was married to Pamela Anderson or is or was. I don't follow celebrity gossip. She had a bit part in the Borat movie. That's where I've seen her, and at the end of the first Borat movie. And then I think she's recently been on some Discover Card commercials. And I think she's famous for some other stuff, but literally that's what I know about her. Maybe the worst thing about him is that he's a Michigan man, which is a strike against him. But it's wrong for me to make this about Bad Bunny versus Kid Rock. If you want to watch Kid Rock, go watch Kid Rock. If you want to watch Bad Bunny, watch Bad Bunny. What is stupid and malicious is to try to make it into a watch Kid Rock because Bad Bunny is evil or bad, and you don't even know what he does or what he stands for. That if you do that, if you fall into that, you're being manipulated. So anyway, Bad Bunny is going to perform next week, February 8th, which is my mom's birthday. So if you would be so kind, put a happy birthday, Mom, into the comments so I can show her. She'll be 81 or 82. She was born in 1945, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 1945. But anyway, take a look. Let's see how Bad Bunny does. I'm glad, personally, most of the halftime shows suck. I cannot think of any that I liked going back. I'm sure that there have been some in my 50-something years of existence, but I can't remember. So I'm actually finally looking forward to one because I'm already a Bad Bunny fan. I'm already a big football fan. I don't really care about the two teams that are playing as far as not being a fan of either of them, but we've got some Buckeyes on both teams. So we've got a Buckeye receiver on one and a Buckeye running back on the other. So I will be rooting for them as individuals and hoping to see big plays from them. And I just hope to see a great game. But if you want to find out who Bad Bunny is, if you have an open mind, maybe you're skeptical and you're suspicious, but you're not really sure, or maybe you're already a fan. There's a song out there. I'll leave you with this. Go watch his video, Chambea. And Chambea has, what's his name? Ric Flair, one of the old wrestler from back in the day, from back when I was a kid. And this guy is not going to appear for his own image in any kind of fruity, counterculture stuff, because he's how you can't get more tough guy than one of these wrestlers, especially from back in the day. But he's in the Bad Bunny video. Go check it out. If you don't speak Spanish, you might not understand the words, but if you watch the video, I think you'll come away convinced that this is not a bowl of Fruit Loops. Okay, Chambea, Chambea is the name of one of my favorite Bad Bunny songs. If you like it, if it's mediocre, if it sucks, let me know what you think in the comments. Chambea, holla.
Willow remorse unum. Willow remorse unum. E pluribus unum.